Hello, it's Alevere Nick back again. This is my 25th video update, and if you've seen my films in the past, you'll see that I lost a lot of weight with Alevere back in 2016, and now, well, maybe the camera can speak for me. I've put the weight back on, not all of the weight, I'm glad to say, half of the weight, so I am going back on a restart. But before we go any further on this video update, I want to introduce you to Chris. Now, Chris is the Chief Executive of Alevere, and he's joining me today because my videos, and thanks to all your support, I think about 27,000 plus of you have watched these videos over the years. Well, words got back to Alevere, and when I contacted them again and said I'd like to restart, they said, well, look, you know, we're looking at producing a new aftercare package. Why don't we help you with your restart and open the conversation to your audience about how we might develop that? And also, I was very keen to meet Chris because Chris, well, you bought into this in the very first place, Chris, because you had an amazing journey yourself. How much did you lose? So
I lost 7 stone 2 pounds in 20 weeks, 10 years ago now. And it was a transformative journey. It was really was a transformative 20-week period of my life.
And of course, it was transformative not only because you lost all the weight, but then you decided to eventually
completely. So the story was I weighed over 20 stone. I was very fed up with the way I looked and felt. That weight had come on over a period of about 15 years, so half a stone a year, and suddenly, you know, you're at 7.5, 8 stone overweight. Very fed up about it. I've got a picture that we might be able to demonstrate and show.
Let's have a look at that picture now. Yep, there you are.
Well, so yes, it was, as you can see, I look, you know, hopefully I look as miserable on this picture as I did feel inside. I was probably more miserable inside. And so I completely had a chance meeting with a doctor who ran an Alevere clinic in Cheshire. And through that chance meeting, I ended up doing the Alevere program. That's a very short version of the story.
But a familiar story, and I'm sure people watching this, whether they're restarting or you're looking at starting with Alevere for the first time, we're not doing it because we're happy with the way we look or feel, right? And it's bizarre how we ever allow ourselves to get big in the first place, right? And then I suppose, in my case, I'm the perfect example. It's really frustrating when you go through the journey, you lose all the weight, and then it piles back on again. And it piles back on slowly so you don't notice it. But all of those checks and balances I put in place. So, oh, if I ever go out of the 34-inch trousers, then I'll know it's time to get back on. If I ever reach this weight and go over it, I'll know it's time to get back on. But you know what? It's like Jekyll and Hyde. I just ignore it. I become a different person and I carry on eating and I carry on putting on weight until it gets desperate. And then I phone you guys again.
And it's a relatively familiar story. I mean, it's one of the reasons we're so keen to develop this aftercare program. So it's 10 years now since I went on my original weight loss journey. And over that 10 years, you know, 2-3 pounds a year creeps on and suddenly there's 30 pounds reappears. You know, I'm 50 next year, 30 pounds reappears around your middle. And suddenly there's a stone and a half, 2 stone, 30 pounds, 2 stone to lose. And it's sneaked up. It's not, you know, woken up one morning and suddenly there's 2 stone there. It's sneaked up, and 2 pounds a year over 10 years is nothing. It's almost, you know, imperceptible until one morning, you know, the 32-inch trousers don't fit anymore and you go to a 34-inch trousers, and the 16 collar shirts don't fit. You're a 17 collar shirt. And then you can potentially, if you don't get it back under control, you know, another 10 years and suddenly you're 4 or 5 stone overweight, which is going to have a serious implication for your health going forward. So This is where we are so keen, and why, you know, when the opportunity came to talk to you about it, to develop an aftercare program and understand from some of your viewers just how we might develop that program to be, you know, to be a huge benefit for us as a business and also for our patients.
So this is your opportunity to literally shape this product as it develops. I mean, at the moment, you have, I certainly received a phone call saying, oh, how's it going, Nick? You know, do you need to come back? But as I was saying to Chris earlier today, it needs to be more than that. There needs to be, I don't know, how might it look, this aftercare package, to ensure people, if you put on half a stone, right, what is it? It's a week on Alevere and you're back on track. Mm-hmm. I'm now 2 stone heavier than I was at the end of my journey, and so it's a full restart. It's going to take me a while. So how would you pull people back? What ideas have you had?
So one of the key components is going to be a very robust follow-up program. So one of the things I talk about regularly is that if you treat obesity as a disease, which is any other chronic disease that you may get through life, let's say terrible disease, cancer, stroke, heart attack, diabetes, all those diseases, after they've been managed and hopefully cured, there's a follow-up process. And we believe within the business, within Alevere, that there should be a much more robust follow-up program, an aftercare package, the same as you would have if you'd just been cured, let's say, of cancer. You won't just come out of your last chemotherapy session and walk out and go, thanks, and the consultant says, thanks, see you again at some point, if it comes back, let me know.
And the temptation is to do just that, because you're in the skinny trousers and you look great in the mirror and you're like, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done, everything's fine. Everything's good now.
And that bubble bursts after 6 months.
Absolutely, doesn't it just? And, we've got some very clear evidence now, and there's a lot of evidence outside of the Alevere business, in the weight loss world in general. If people have a robust follow-up program, then there is a very high chance that they will keep the weight off, and that's where one of our ideas, and with the anecdotal evidence that we've got at the moment, is around 87% of patients who've been back to us on a regular basis, and that might be fortnightly or monthly, over the course of the 12 months, have maintained their weight to within 2-3 kilograms of their finishing weight. And that's what we're looking to achieve and develop that aftercare program. So
87% is a huge statistic.
Yeah, in comparison to those that don't come back, and I've not got figures for those, because obviously they don't come back, so we don't know how they're getting on. If we could get them, I suspect probably 40 or 50% of people who don't have some sort of regular maintenance checkup will put some weight back on, probably significantly more than those who come.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say there's not a diet in the world who will, give you the weight loss you're after and then expect you to walk out the door and straight into McDonald's and for it to work. That just doesn't exist. Even with surgery, right? People still put on the weight, months, years later. So I think taking that responsibility, but the problem is with, I'm a foodie, right? So putting me out there on my own with a calorie guide, it just wasn't enough for me. I guess there needs to be a way that's going to force me, right, almost on a monthly or quarterly basis, to get in touch with you, to have that appointment. And whether that's a financial incentive, whether I've paid some money up front, or whether, I don't know, or whether you hold a deposit that won't be released until I've met so many. I don't know how this could work. But there needs to be something other than just call in every 3 months, And
it'd be fascinating to hear what your viewers think about that, so we can really develop this aftercare program around the needs and the wants of our patients.
I had a fun one. When I first lost the weight, I remember saying to a few of my friends, I'm going to write a cheque for £500 that you're going to give to charity if I hit the weight that I don't want to hit and I can't get it back under control within a month, right? So I thought, brilliant, I'll write it out to whatever charity. And if my friend says, Nick, I tell you what, get on the scales. I think you're putting on weight. And it proved that I was on the scales. If I couldn't rein it back in a month, which I know you can on Alevere, right? It does amazing stuff in a month. Then yeah, pay that check. But then you made the interesting point that,
yes,
that paying it a check to charity actually would probably make you feel quite better, and you might even be convinced to have another digestive or whatever. But then you came up with another.
So one of my suggestions was you had to make the check out to a political party whose views you completely disagreed with, so that you knew if you put the weight back on, that check was going to be paid to that political party or an organisation that you disagree completely with their values, and maybe that motivation and away from motivation. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Because I do think like you, I have a friend who donated to Birmingham Children's Hospital, and he felt great about that, even though he'd failed in his own mind at what he'd done, but he still paid his check. But it's okay. I've put some back on, but I've given my money to a good charity cause. So he felt great about himself.
You make a valid point. I mean, we won't mention any political parties, but yeah, you don't want to support the ones you don't want to support, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment. So definitely want your input on how this aftercare package could shape up, what you think price points might be, what you think, just how you think it might work, what would work for you. Maybe it could be some sort of digital solution where you have those scales that update your weight and you send a screen grab or something, some way of being held accountable, right, to your weight that's as easy as possible and doesn't rely on your own willpower. Because if you're like me, which I know a lot of you are, then you haven't got that willpower, right? That's the problem. So I start again on Monday, and full disclosure, this is on you this time, which is very, very good of you. And who knows, at the end of it, I may well be your first guinea pig
on our aftercare
on
program.
the aftercare, yes. And then we'll just have to keep this updated, and you can see then for sure whether this thing works or it doesn't work. But I'll have to be a good boy, won't I?
You will. You will. And I know we've talked about how in order for it to succeed, you need to feel accountable to somebody, and that is one of the advantages of attending the clinic appointments each week and having the treatments. Is a lot of patients tell us they feel accountable. And that's probably the first time in any weight loss journey they've been on that they've actually been accountable, that somebody's helping them and supporting them and guiding them right the way through that journey from the moment they walk into the clinic. In some cases we've got patients with 10, 12 stone to lose, and that will help over maybe 35 to 40 weeks. Those patients feel accountable, and we feel accountable to them as well, which I think is as important.
Yeah, and what I found unique is that it not only is it one-to-one, but it's a medical one-to-one. You're in a medical environment. You're dealing with people who have seen much worse than you, who have seen much better than you. You're dealing with doctors as well, and that's the big difference, because there are diets that offer one-to-one support. There are other diets, of course, not mentioning any brands here, that will have group weekly meetings, but I've been to those group weekly meetings, and sometimes they can be as harmful as they can be good, in my opinion, because there are other people there who are just like, yeah, don't worry about it, I put on £3 this week too, and you don't want that.
There's a lot of psychology around that, but it's certainly the Alevere program is not a diet, it's specialist medical weight loss. Your weight loss is being closely monitored, and your progress and health is being supervised by a team of 40 GPs now we have across our network of clinics across the country, and that's really important for medically to supervise this style of program and weight loss. And certainly the diet club, let's call them diet clubs, or we would say no need to mention any brand names, everybody knows the famous ones. When you're in that group of people, you generally enjoy their company because they're like you. And so there's an amount of self-sabotage can occur when you may have a level of success that separates you from the group, i.e. maybe other people in the group aren't having that success, and resentment can creep in about the fact you're success, and so you subconsciously self-sabotage to remain part of that group. It's an evolutionary psychological construct to help us stay part of a tribe, and that's a very challenging psychological thing to overcome with when you're making friends in that group, and your success will lead to you not being in that group anymore.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Chris, thank you so much for the meetup and for helping me with this restart. And I hope we get to meet again, maybe when I've got there.
I'm looking forward to seeing the end result.
Yeah, that's the pressure's on. And talking about accountability, you guys really helped me as well, keeping this weekly update, which I am going to start again now. The odd comment, just seeing the views build up. It holds me accountable to make sure I turn up the next week and I hit that healthy BMI again. So thank you so much for your help. Please do link, comment, share, subscribe, because this is, well, let's be honest, it's November 2019. If you try and give feedback for an aftercare product now and you've seen this video 2 years later, it won't work. So you need to comment now so we can get the comments back to Chris and his team. That's it for now. I will see you next week when I will be living on Alevere food again. So thanks ever so much. See you next time.